This week I discovered that my wife was having an affair. Did you discover that this week? Or were there clues and hints for a very long period of time? And I'm not suggesting that's the case, by the way, to this particular individual. I have to provide something approximating a generic answer. In order for that to be rectified, you need to know what exactly happened here. What's the significance of this event? And that's one vicious question. Now, the person asking the question also leaps to an immediate conclusion. So there's a big problem here. My wife had an affair, ? What's going on? But then they provide an answer. I still love her, and what's the next part of it? The answer is, I still love her, and I need to know how to navigate forward. I'm not so convinced of that, by the way. Are you not angry? Are you not upset, frustrated, disappointed, anxious, hurt, betrayed, traumatized? Or is there a part of you who now knows the relationship is over, and because it wasn't a very good relationship, you're thrilled because now you have the right to engage in the same sort of devious pathway to hypothetical freedom that your wife took? Because that can certainly be the case. Like when a bomb like that goes off in the midst of your life, everything is up for grabs. And so to immediately say, I still love her, it's, yeah, maybe and maybe not. And if that's all you feel, then that in itself is definitely a problem, and also might be key to why it happened to begin with, because you appear to be the sort of person who can be stomped on pretty damn hard and not object. What other problems do you have? How long have you been married? Is the whole damn thing a lie? Is every relationship you've ever had a lie? Are you a complete doormat? Are you blind beyond capacity? Have you married someone who's psychopathic or narcissistic? Do you have a pattern of associating with people like that? Those are all questions that are going to plague and should plague you in some real sense when something like that happens. So the first issue is what the hell happened? And man, that can take 1,000 hours that should have been spent in discussion with your wife before this happened, trying to get to the bottom of it. People are often traumatized by that kind of revelation. And the reason they're traumatized is because imagine you have a committed relationship with someone. So you might ask, what is the basis of the commitment? And there's a hierarchy of commitment in that some commitments are more fundamentally important than others, and those are the commitments upon which all other commitments rely. And so when you set up a household with someone and you move towards permanent intimate relationship and hypothetically in the direction of, let's say, having dependent children, then you're doing all that based on the presupposition that the person is faithful to you, because that's one of the defining attributes of the relationship itself. And so when that axiomatic presupposition is shattered, then everything dependent on that is now questionable. And that not only includes the present, what the hell is going on now, the future, what are we going to do, who am I with anyways, but also the past itself, because you were living, let's say, in something approximating a fool's paradise, and nothing that you thought to be the case was in fact the case. And so that's a dreadful problem. And how you cobble something like that back together is a very difficult problem. I would say the first thing you do is open yourself up to the admission of the magnitude of the problem. What's the problem? Who am I, anyways, that this happened to me? Who are other human beings that they could do this to each? So those are fundamental questions about the nature of social relationships themselves, or even about individual identity. Very unsettling questions. Someone I loved has the capacity for that magnitude of betrayal. That's a dreadful realization, not least in part because it also implies to some degree that you also have the same capacity. You can't betray me unless I've trusted you. And trust is the precondition for all social relations. And so to betray someone who deeply trusts you is to demolish the foundation of relationship itself. In a therapeutic environment, I would walk the person through their marriage. Let's lay out the story and see if we can figure out where things went wrong. Each person's catastrophe is very particularized and singular, and all I would be able to do in that situation is to listen to the account of the past, let's say, and to ask the person to clarify when I didn't understand, and to see if I could evoke from them a coherent and plausible causal account of the pathway to the catastrophe that was differentiated and detailed enough so that once they understood it, they would be less likely to repeat it. And that's how you recover from something like this. You recover from something like this by not being the sort of person to whom that will ever happen again. And that might be, it could be, as I alluded to earlier, that now and then people get unlucky and they partner with someone who is fundamentally and malevolently unreliable. And that's brutal if that occurs. And you might think there's no people that are fundamentally and malevolently unreliable. And I would say you're either naive and you better watch out because one of these adventures is coming your way, or you've been unbelievably fortunate and have just never encountered someone like that. And I would find out from the person just exactly what it is they think they've encountered and to try to characterize that. They've certainly encountered this spirit of betrayal, no doubt about that. Have they encountered their own capacity for naive, willful blindness? Probably. All of that has to be rectified before this shattered reality can be put back together. And it has to be rectified. And that's an extraordinarily complicated problem. The answer to the problem is, how do I now move forward knowing what I know about my own capacity for blindness and the ability of others, even when trusted, to engage in deep betrayal?